welcome. It's Tina Logassi here from Prem Heirloom Designs, and today I wanted to just do a quick video tutorial regarding working with SVGs and your Cricut Maker 3. I can only talk to the Cricut Maker 3 because that's the only Cricut that I've worked with and that I own. But I think, oh my gosh, it's a time saver if you are working with anything that you are doing like really repetitive cuts on, and sometimes some intricate cuts that you really want to get perfect. It really does a great job. The downside, I would say, is that you may feel like you're wasting a bit of the felt because you can't really manipulate the placement of the pieces as well and really, line them up super close to each other, because the cutting blade does need to be able to get into like the tight spaces. But I find if I do end up like with, pieces that I still feel like I can do something with, I will put them aside and use them for, to cut out little small blossom centers and just do some hand cutting with it, or just throw it right into your scrap pile to use as stuffing. Right away after I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, I did invest in a rotary blade for my Cricut. I find it does do the an amazing job, so I would do that. I use the blue, the light grip mat for the felt. I find that that is more than enough grip. And let me know if you're at all interested in me getting into how to create your own SVGs. Like if you make a sketch of something and you want to bring it into a program and create an SVG from it. The only experience I have for this is working with Affinity Designer, but I am more than happy to do a tutorial on that for anybody that might be interested in getting into that on their own. So let's dive in. Alrighty, so I have just opened up Cricut, the Cricut screen, and I don't have a membership, so this is the screen that I always get. So I just click off of this, and I go into my space. So I'm just going to go into my stuff, and I'm just going to pull up this leaf, small leaf. So click on that and bring it in. So this is an SVG, and I'm going to go to customize. So that brings it into my design space. I always like to double check that it is the size that I want it to be, because sometimes if you're making your own SVG, it won't necessarily come in at the same size that you want. So you sometimes might need to modify this. However, if you're using one of the SVGs from my patterns, I have double checked that they are the correct size. So I'm going to be printing this on, let's say normally you'd be doing like a 9x12 piece of felt or a 12x18. I'm going to use up a small piece of felt though. So I'm just going to, I'm hitting Control Copy, Control V. I'm on a Mac, and whatever your copy and paste function is on your computer, you can use that. And I'm just adding more of these. I'm going to do maybe 4. So I can also hit Control, highlight them, hit Command C, Command V, have a couple more, and there we go. The thing to remember about the Cricut design space is no matter this is not where you play around with how you want these to print out on the felt. This is, it's going to reorganize them on you. Like you'll see if I go up to make. All right, I'm going to go on matte. I'm going to go for a 12x12 because I don't have a very big piece of felt that I'm going to be working with. So back to my design space. Confirm. So it lines these up how it wants to. And sometimes it'll even add a second page. Just having a look here. So that means I need to have a piece of felt that's probably 8 inches by 4 inches to comfortably print that. So I'm going to go to make, and I'm using the 12x12 confirm. And over here where it says material size, that's where I like to change it. If I'm using a 12x18 piece of felt, I'll click this 12x19. Because it gets me close, at least I can kind of see what my layout's going to be and move things around and play with them. If I'm doing a 9x12, then I can click that because that's also a very common size of felt. So I can see right now, these are lined up to cut on the Cricut mat at the top left corner. and there's going to be 4 of them lined up like that. All right, so then I'm going to hit the continue button, and this is where it's trying to connect the machine. So I'm actually going to walk over to my machine. Now pay attention that it also says you need to be within 15 feet of your Cricut, and that is a true thing because I have tried to walk away and it just stops doing the cut. So I am just starting up my Cricut, and I'm gonna let that connect. You can already see it says Maker 338. Oh, she's took your machine. Let's redo that. There we go. It's probably because this was off before I went to the screen, but now the Cricut's on. It takes a few moments, and now it recognizes it, okay? So with the felt, you need to set your material. You can browse all the materials here, and but you can just under search all materials, the felt wool fabric is the one that I use for this, and I use a pressure as default. And so see where it says load fine point blade in clamp B, go to edit tools, and this is where I switch it to rotary blade because that is my preferred to cut felt with. It's never let me down, and I've seen enough tutorials to know that that's the correct blade for my felt. So I'm gonna hit apply, and at this point you're loading the mat and pressing load unload. Hey guys, so this is my Cricut. I've got that button flashing because it is ready to load the mat. I'm just gonna take a moment and show you. I've got my computer over here ready to go, and this is where I've got all of my mats lying down. So you can see I've got some debris on this mat. It is not a problem, and I'm going to show you afterwards a nice way of cleaning that up. For felt, I like to use the light grip, and you can see I've got the 12 by 20. Oh, I can't remember, but I've got the large mat there. This is a 12 by 12, and over here I've got a pile of felt. This is a wool blend felt that I carry in my shop, and remember I said this is probably going to need 4 inches across to print. So I'm actually going to come back here with a pair of scissors. So you can see I've just cut that edge, straightened it out. This is not a full piece of felt by any means, but I know that I've got more than enough in order to do this cut. So I've got my mat prepared. The other thing you want to do is ensure that in this B compartment that you've got the rotary blade installed. So that's what I've got in here. So now I've got my mat. I made sure that my felt is sticking. The felt surprisingly doesn't need a lot of tackiness in order to hold on because of all the fibers. So I'm just gonna hit that button and give it a moment. And make sure you've got adequate space in behind your machine, especially when you're working with the really big mats. Okay, and you can see this is now flashing, so I'm going to hit that, and this is now going to start my cut. All right, and meanwhile, if you look at the screen, it's detecting, it's starting to cut. Okay, and you can see that it's starting to work right now, which is great. Okay, so I've noticed that on my screen it says unload mat, which means that my cut is done. So over here, I'm going to hit the unload button, and that's it. And now you can already see a bit of where the cuts are. I'm going to pull this off. Okay, so these are like perfectly cut leaves. Now, a couple of things. So I am using a wool blend felt. If I were cutting pieces that were afterwards going to be embroidered and I was going to be using sulky, I would pre-shrink my felt before I put it through the Cricut. I find the blue mat works the best for me for felt. There is a trick another maker shared with me. If you're concerned that your that your mats are losing their stick. I think you probably Google this, but she said that if you mix Eileen tacky glue with some water, you can like spread that onto your mat, let it dry, and then it actually keeps some tackiness, and sometimes it's too tacky, so you may need to like play around with the amount and whatever else. So far I have not had to do that with my mats. I just been finding that cleaning them is important every once in a while in between. So I'm going to show you in a moment how to do that. Okay, so I got my mat and I brought it over to the sink, and I want to get rid of all that fuzziness. So I've got some soapy water here, and you can use a towel. I'm going to use the soft side of this sponge. Oh, and I'm going to try to hold my phone and show you how this can just lift up. Okay, and then when you have a collection of these fibers, then you can just pick them up. It's obviously easier to do if you've got both hands. So I'm gonna do this, and then afterwards I'm gonna rinse it, and I'm gonna lay it out to dry. And that's how you get rid of those fuzzies. Okay, so you can see this mat's pretty clean now. I'm just leaving it to dry, just to air dry. And believe it or not, the stickiness does come back. It won't be as sticky as when you first got the mat, but hey, like I said, I've been using this mat multiple times. It still has enough stick on it for my felt. And if you felt that it was ready, if you felt that it was ready for you to increase the stick more, then try that glue and water brush on method rather than trying to buy a whole new mat. So I hope this helped you get a little bit more comfortable working with the SVG files that maybe come with your felt floral patterns or other patterns out there, and to use your Cricut to do the cutting. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. If you have a moment, I would love it if you hit the subscribe and like buttons below. That really helps other people find my videos. And until next time, I hope you have a great day.